checked the security monitors one more time before starting his rounds. The mining colony on 442B was quiet today, which meant nothing. Quiet was when things went wrong. He walked through the industrial district where massive drilling equipment sat idle. The sun was lower on the horizon now, casting long shadows across the metal structures. Had been working security here for 3 years, and he knew every corner, every access point, every danger. The colony had rules about the quarantine zone. The rules existed for a reason. Was 34 years old, lean and muscular from years of physical work. His face was weathered, marked by a scar that ran from his left eye to his chin. People knew not to cross him, but that was not why he did this job. He did it to protect others. That was all that mattered to him anymore. The quarantine zone sat at the edge of the industrial sector. Behind the reinforced barriers, scientists studied alien creatures. The barriers were strong, but they were not perfect. Knew this. He checked them anyway, every single day. Today he noticed something odd. The sensor on Section 4 was blinking red. He called it in immediately. "Control, this is. I have a malfunction on Quarantine Zone 4. Sending diagnostic now." The response came back fast. "Copy that, sending doctor to run the check. She is 2 minutes out." Waited outside the zone. He kept his hand on his weapon. 2 minutes felt like a long time when something was wrong. He had learned that the hard way. The sound of footsteps made him turn. Dr. Lisa approached with her daughter Emma beside her. Emma was 8 years old, with hair and bright blue eyes. She skipped along beside her mother, asking questions about the work they were doing. Lisa was brilliant and careful. She had come to the colony 2 years ago with her daughter after her husband died in a research accident on Mars. Lisa said, smiling, "What is the problem?" "Sensor malfunction on Section 4, he replied. "The system is showing a breach alert, but I do not see any physical damage from the outside." Lisa frowned and moved closer to examine the barrier. Emma tugged on sleeve. "Mister, can I see the creatures?" "Not today, Emma," he said gently. "We need to make sure everything is safe first." Lisa used her access code to open the diagnostic panel. She started typing commands, checking the readings. Her face changed. Fear spread across her features. She said quietly, "This is not a malfunction." The barrier in Section 4 collapsed. They emerged so fast that almost did not see it move. The creature was tall, 7 feet at least, with 4 arms and teeth like sharpened steel. Its skin rippled with patterns of dark red and black. The creature's eyes fixed on Emma immediately. That was the problem with they were hunters. Children meant prey to them. The creature hissed and moved forward. Did not think. He never thought in moments like this. He simply acted. He stepped directly between Emma and the hunter. His hand went to his weapon, but he knew the gun would not stop this thing fast enough. The creature's claw came down at him with brutal force. The first blow hit his shoulder. Pain shot through his body like lightning, grunted but held his ground. The creature shrieked, confused. Most beings fell after one hit. Humans were not supposed to be this strong. The creature struck again. This time it aimed for his head, raised his arm and caught the blow. Bones in his forearm cracked, but they held. He shoved Emma behind him toward Lisa. "Run," he told them. "Go now." Lisa grabbed Emma and backed away, but she could not run. She was frozen by shock. Took another blow, this one across his ribs. The impact threw him sideways, but he recovered. He was still between the creature and the girl. That was what mattered. They was getting frustrated. This small human was not dying. The creature aimed a combination of strikes using all 4 arms at once, could not block them all. One claw raked across his face. Another caught his leg. Another slammed into his chest. Each blow was meant to be fatal. The creature did not understand that humans had advantages too. Humans had something they did not fully grasp. They had will. They had purpose. Fell to one knee. Blood covered his body. His vision was starting to blur. He heard Lisa screaming his name. He heard Emma crying. He did not move. He stayed between them and the beast. The sound of weapons fire came suddenly. Security forces arrived, 3 of them, weapons blazing. The turn toward the new threat. Its attention shifted away from the bleeding human on the ground. The guards pushed forward, their firearms creating a wall of fire. The creature snarled and hissed, but it was outnumbered now. It ran toward the emergency exit, fleeing back toward the breeding chamber it had escaped from. Collapsed fully to the ground. He could not move. His body was done. Around him, people were shouting orders and calling for medical assistance. Someone rolled him onto his back. Lisa was there, her hands shaking, pressing down on his wounds. "Stay with me," she said. "You stay with me." He wanted to tell her it was okay. He wanted to tell her that Emma was safe, and that was all that mattered. But he could not make the words come. Everything was going dark. The last thing he saw was Emma's face, crying but alive. His sister would have been proud of him. The transport to the medical facility felt like it took forever, drifted in and out of consciousness. He heard voices around him, doctors talking in urgent tones, medical equipment beeping and whirring. He heard Lisa's voice, tight with fear and gratitude mixed together. "He saved her life," Lisa was saying to someone. "He took every blow meant for her. He did not even hesitate." Heard the words but could not respond. His body was broken. Maybe it would not heal. Maybe this was the end. He had made peace with that possibility long ago. What mattered was that Emma was alive. And that was enough. 3 weeks passed. Lay in the medical recovery room while his body healed. The doctors had warned him that his injuries were severe. Most beings would have died, but humans had something remarkable in their blood. Their healing capacity exceeded almost every species in the known galaxy. His body was knitting itself back together. Dr. Sarah, the colony's chief medical officer, examined his wounds every day. She watched as cuts closed and bones fused with unusual speed. She took samples, ran tests, and shook her head in wonder. "Your body is repairing itself faster than expected," she told him. "The claws should have caused permanent damage. Instead, your tissue is regenerating. This is remarkable." Did not feel remarkable. He felt like he had been hit by a mining shuttle multiple times, but the pain was fatting. Each day brought more strength back. He could move his fingers, then his hand, then his arm. The human body was a tough machine. The visitors started coming on the 2nd week. Emma was the first. She arrived with Lisa, looking nervous but determined. Emma held a drawing in her small hands. It showed a stick figure with a red cape and another stick figure that might have been Emma holding its hand. "This is you," Emma said, pointing at the figure with the red cape. "You are a hero. I drew it for you." Felt something move in his chest that had nothing to do with his injuries. He tried to smile. It hurt, but he managed. "Thank you, Emma. This is the best gift I could get." Emma climbed onto the bed carefully and sat beside him. She asked questions about what happened. Where did it hurt? When could he come home? Was the creature going to come back? Answered what he could. He told her that he was going to heal. He did not tell her that he had seen death close enough to recognize it. That was not her burden to carry. Lisa stood by the window watching them. Her face was soft with an emotion could not quite name. He had seen it once or twice before, but he did not want to assume what it meant. Gratitude, maybe. Relief. Something more complicated than that. Over the following days, Emma became a regular visitor. She brought drawings. She brought books. She read to him from a story about space explorers and distant planets. Her voice was clear and young and full of wonder about the universe. Listened and felt the tension in his shoulders ease. On the 10th day, he was moved to partial mobility. His left arm was still bound, but he could sit up. He could walk slowly with support. Emma helped him, holding his good hand. Lisa walked on his other side. They moved through the medical facility to the observation window that looked out over the colony. "It is beautiful, is it not?" Lisa said. "Sometimes I forget how dangerous it is. Then something like this happens. It is worth protecting, said. Lisa turned to look at him. Their eyes met for a long moment. She reached out and gently touched his unbandaged shoulder. What you did, she said, that was the bravest thing I have ever seen. Looked away. I just did what was right. Exactly, Lisa replied. That is what makes it brave. You did not think about yourself. You thought about Emma. You thought about what was right. The colony leadership called to a hearing on the 15th day. He was still healing, but they wanted to address what had happened. The meeting room was filled with council members and scientists. They sat behind a long table while stood before them, Lisa beside him for support. The council administrator, a man named Robert, spoke first. Your actions in the quarantine zone prevented a tragedy. You risked your life for a child. This colony owes you a debt. But then another council member, a woman named Wade, spoke up. Her voice was careful and measured. The council has made a formal complaint. They say one of their hunters was killed in the incident. They are demanding compensation. They have suggested that perhaps the incident could have been handled differently. The room went quiet, felt anger rise in his chest. Different how? Let the creature take the child, run and hide. Lisa stood. She was not asked to speak, but she did anyway. Her voice was sharp and clear. I was there. I saw everything. The barrier failed. The creature escaped and immediately targeted Emma, saved her life. There was no other choice. They would do the same if one of their young was threatened. Wade leaned back. We are simply saying that we need to maintain good relations with they control important trade routes. If we want to keep those routes open, we may need to make certain sacrifices. Like sacrificing a man who saved a child. Lisa's voice rose. Like telling a girl that her life is less valuable than trade agreements. Robert intervened. Doctor, we understand your perspective, but the council must think about the colony as a whole. Had said nothing. He listened and felt the weight of politics pressing down on him. This was why he did security work. He did not like politics. He did not like how people calculated worth in deals and agreements. Lisa turned to him. She reached out and took his hand. She held it tight, her fingers gripping his like she would not let go. This man is part of my family, she said to the council. Emma and I would not be here without him. He means something to me, and I will not watch this colony treat him as a bargaining chip. The statement hung in the air. The council members exchanged glances. Lisa's words meant things. In the colony, family claims were taken seriously. Family bonds were protected. Looked at her. Her face was determined and fierce. She meant what she said. The realization hit him like a second blow from but this one felt like healing instead of breaking. Robert cleared his throat. I think we need to adjourn this meeting. We will discuss the formal council response and contact with our position. Rest and recover. You have done good work here. They dismissed him. As Lisa led him out of the hearing room, Emma ran to them and hugged his leg carefully, avoiding his wounds. Are they going to be mean to you? Emma asked. No, said, I think someone is protecting me. He looked down at Lisa. She met his eyes. In that moment, something shifted between them. It was not just gratitude anymore. It was not just respect. It was something deeper and stronger. It was the beginning of something neither of them had expected to find again. That night sat in his recovery room while Lisa helped him with dinner. Emma was already asleep in the guest bed, exhausted from visiting. Lisa sat beside him, and they talked about things that had nothing to do with the council or danger. She told him about her husband, how he had been a brilliant researcher, how his accident on Mars had broken something in her that she thought could never be fixed, how coming to 442B was supposed to be a new start, but she had been so afraid of getting close to anyone again. And then you, she said quietly, walked into my life and saved my daughter and made me feel things I thought were gone. Took her hand. He told her about his sister, who had died in an alien attack when he was 20 years old. How he had spent the last 14 years making sure no one else lost someone the way he did. How he had thought his life would always be about loss and protection, about suffering and fighting. Until now, he said. Lisa squeezed his hand. Until now. They sat together in comfortable silence while the colony lights twinkled outside the window. For the first time in a very long time, felt like maybe there was something more than just survival. Maybe there was something like hope. 2 weeks after was released from medical care, a diplomatic ship arrived at the colony. It was not a small vessel. It was a massive cruiser that carried the weight of serious intent. The ship landed in the designated port, and 12 emerged, all of them dressed in formal attire that suggested official business. Watched from the security office as the delegation moved toward the colony administration building. He felt a knot form in his stomach. This was not a simple complaint anymore. This was something bigger. Lisa found him in the security office. She had been expecting this. They all had. The council had warned that they would not simply accept the loss of their hunter without serious discussion. They want a meeting, she said. All senior staff, including you. Why would they want me? Asked. Because you are the reason they are here, Lisa replied. She was dressed formally, which was unusual for her. Her hair was pulled back and her expression was serious. She looked strong. Whatever they are here to say, we face it together. The diplomatic chamber was large and designed to be neutral ground. They sat on one side of the long table. The colony's leadership sat on the other, stood with Lisa, slightly back from the front positions. The lead was named Orr. He was old by their standards, his skin a deeper shade of red, his movements deliberate and controlled. He spoke in English, though his accent was thick and rough. All the major species in the galaxy learned English. It was the language of trade and politics. The human named, Orr said, looking directly at him. He killed one of our kind. This is not acceptable. Humans do not understand the cost of such actions. Robert, the colony administrator, leaned forward. Or the incident was a breach in our containment. The creature escaped and immediately attacked, was protecting a child. It was self-defense. Or raised one of his lower hands in a gesture of dismissal. We do not dispute the facts of what happened, but the outcome is the same. Our warrior is dead. This requires response. A second stood. She was slightly smaller than Orr but carried herself with clear authority. I am Tal's military advisor to the council. We have studied the incident in detail. What concerns us is not the death of the warrior. What concerns us is the human known as. Felt Lisa tense beside him. He stayed still and watched. Tal's continued. The warrior struck multiple times with sufficient force to destroy most humanoid life forms, yet survived, more than survived, healed. Our medical specialists have reviewed the recordings. They have analyzed the biology. The human survived injuries that should have been fatal. This makes valuable. The word valuable hung in the air like a weapon. Wade spoke now. Valuable how? Valuable as research, Tals replied coldly. The wish to study human genetic structure, particularly the rapid healing capability and the biological resistance to trauma, would be perfect for such study. We propose a trade. Comes with us for a period of 1 standard year. During this time, he participates in medical examination and analysis. In return, we provide the colony with advanced medical technology that would benefit all humans here. The room erupted. Council members started talking over each other. Scientists began discussing the possibilities and the dangers. They sat calmly, waiting for the humans to finish their chaos. Felt rage building inside him. Study. That was a word with meaning. It meant being trapped. It meant having no choice. It meant becoming a thing instead of a person. Lisa stood up, her voice cut through the noise like a blade. No. Everyone stopped talking. Lisa looked directly at Orr. Your offer is rejected. Robert grabbed her arm. Doctor, we need to discuss this. Lisa pulled her arm away. There is nothing to discuss, is not a commodity, he is not a thing to be traded, he is a person and his answer will be no. Or made a sound that might have been a laugh. The female human speaks, but she has no authority, the administrator controls the decision. Lisa's face was calm, but her eyes were burning. Actually, I do have authority. According to colony law established when this outpost was founded, a human can claim marriage rights to another human if that human has demonstrated exceptional protection, and there is mutual agreement for bonding. The silence that followed was absolute. Everyone understood what she was saying. Lisa said, turning to look at him, "I am claiming you, not as property, not as a trade agreement, as family, as my husband." Felt like someone had stopped his heart. The words were clear, but he could barely believe he had heard them correctly. Or stood up, "This is a deception, we will not accept it." "You do not have to accept it," Lisa replied. "But it is the law of this colony. Once I claim him and he accepts is family. He cannot be traded or claimed by any external party. Your law of dominion does not supersede our law of family." Emma stood as well. The 8-year-old girl walked over to and took his hand. "I want him to be my dad," she said in a small, clear voice. "He is my dad. He saved me." Looked at the girl, then at Lisa, then back at the delegation. The choice was his now. Everything he had ever wanted was in this moment. A family, a home, a reason to be more than just a fighter and a protector. "I accept," he said quietly. "I accept the claim, I accept the family." The delegation began talking among themselves in their own language. The sounds were harsh and discordant, or turned back to face the humans. "This is an insult," he said. "We came with a generous offer." "No," said, speaking for the first time. His voice was steady. "You came to take something that was never yours to take. I belong to the colony. I belong to this family. That is not going to change." Or stared at him for a long moment. Then he turned to the other council members. "The council will consider your response. We will return in 3 days with our formal decision." The delegation walked out of the chamber with deliberate, measured steps. As soon as they were gone, the room erupted again in voices and chaos, but barely heard it. He was looking at Lisa, who was looking at him. Emma held both their hands. "I am sorry," Lisa said. "I did not ask first, I just reacted." "Do not apologize," replied. "You protected me, you protected us." Later that night, when Emma was asleep and Lisa sat on the observation deck, the stars were visible above them, countless pinpoints of light in the darkness. This was where Lisa had brought him on his first day out of medical care. It had become their place. "That was brave," said, "what you did today." "That was necessary," Lisa replied. "I meant every word. I want you in my life. I want you to be Emma's father if you will have us." "I already am," he said. "I became that the moment I put myself between her and I just did not know it at the time." Lisa rested her head on his shoulder. "Tomorrow, the council is going to ask us a lot of questions. They are going to be worried about the response. They will want to know if we can survive what comes next." "Can we?" asked. "I think we can do anything," Lisa said. "I think we can survive anything." Held her close and looked up at the stars. Whatever came next, he was not alone anymore. He had a family. He had a home that could come with their threats and demands. It did not matter. Nothing mattered now except this. They returned with their answer, and it was not what the colony leadership had hoped for, or stood in the diplomatic chamber and delivered the message with the weight of finality behind it. The council does not recognize the marriage claim as valid under galactic law. We believe this was a deception created to prevent a fair exchange. Therefore, we are claiming the human under the law of conquest and recovery. If you do not surrender him within 1 rotation, we will take him by force. Robert tried to negotiate. He offered compromises. He offered resources. He offered anything except or would not negotiate. The decision was final. That night, alarms woke the colony. They had not waited. Their ships were approaching the settlement. They were not landing in the designated port. They were coming down in the civilian sectors, directly above where families lived. Was already moving. He had spent his entire adult life preparing for moments like this. He moved fast, calling in every security personnel available. Lisa was with him, her face tight with fear and determination mixed together. "I am coming with you," she said. "No, you need to stay with Emma. Get her to the underground shelter." Lisa grabbed his arm. "I am a scientist, I can help, and I am not letting you do this alone." Before he could argue, alarms sounded in the residential sector. The first landing craft was setting down. The colony's defense system started firing, but the ships had better shielding than the colony defense grid could penetrate. The landing craft touched down in the residential sector. Troops began to emerge. Made a decision. "We split up. I will go to the landing site. You get Emma to shelter and then link up with the secondary defense position at the reactor building. If this goes bad, you protect Emma. That is the priority." Lisa wanted to argue, but she knew he was right. She nodded, fear in her eyes, kissed her forehead, then turned and ran toward the landing site. They had set down near the residential housing where and Lisa lived. The creatures that emerged were warriors, armed with energy weapons that burned hot enough to cut through reinforced concrete. The security team had standard weapons. It was not a fair fight. Arrived with 8 other security personnel. They set up defensive positions and began returning fire. They advanced slowly, using their firepower to suppress the humans' resistance. 3 security officers fell in the first exchange, and 2 others fell back, dragging their injured teammates to safety. But something was wrong. They were not pushing forward as aggressively as they could have. They were spreading out. They were searching for something. They were searching for. That was when he realized the danger. This was not just a military strike. This was a targeted retrieval. They had orders to find him specifically, and they were willing to burn the entire residential sector to do it. In the underground shelter beneath the educational center, Lisa sat with Emma and 3 other families. The children huddled together while the parents tried to seem calm. Emma was crying, asking for. Lisa held her daughter and told her that was coming back. She told her they would be safe. She was not sure if she believed it. The shelter shook as an explosion detonated nearby. The lights flickered. One of the other parents, a man named David, looked at Lisa with fear in his eyes. "It is getting worse," he said. Lisa stood up. She could not just sit here. Was out there fighting for them, fighting for Emma. She could not abandon him. "Stay with the children," she told David. She climbed the access ladder and pushed open the hatch. The colony above was chaos. Fires burned in multiple locations. The secondary defense position was 3 blocks away. Lisa started running. She made it 2 blocks before a patrol spotted her. The creatures hissed and began pursuit. Lisa ran harder, her lungs burning. She could feel them getting closer. She could hear their heavy footsteps and the sound of their weapons charging. Then gunfire erupted from her left. A security team opened fire on them, driving them back. It was Friend, another security officer named. He grabbed Lisa and pulled her into a reinforced building. "Doctor, what are you doing out here?" demanded. "I need to get to the reactor building," Lisa said, gasping for air. "The secondary defense position." Shook his head. "That is 2 blocks away. We cannot make it. They have air support now. They are hunting." Lisa felt fear spike through her. "Where is he?" "Last I heard, he was coordinating defense at the landing zone. But Lisa, if they are looking for him specifically, he might be isolated. He might be cut off." Lisa made a choice. She grabbed a spare weapon from the equipment rack. It was not the first time she had held a gun. She had done mandatory colony security training. She was not trained like the security professionals, but she could aim and fire. "Then we go get him," she said. Stared at her like she was insane. "Doctor, that is suicide." Maybe, Lisa replied, but I am not losing him, not after everything. They moved through the colony's back passages, staying low and moving fast. Behind them, the sounds of battle continued. They seemed to be concentrated in certain areas. They were methodical, searching building by building. At the landing zone, and his remaining team were pinned down. They were out of ammunition for the heavy weapons. They had standard firearms and hand-to-hand training. They had advanced technology and superior firepower. It was only a matter of time. Then something unexpected happened. A warrior on the edge of the battlefield suddenly fell, struck by gunfire from an angle that did not match the primary defense position. Then another one fell. Someone else was shooting at the peered around his position and saw them. Lisa and, moving from cover to cover, firing at the from a completely different angle. The distraction was exactly what they needed, and his team pushed forward, using the momentary confusion to regain ground. The battle lasted another 20 minutes. They, realizing they were not going to successfully retrieve without taking unacceptable casualties, pulled back. They retreated to their landing craft. Their ships lifted off and they were gone. Just like that, the threat was over. Ran to Lisa the moment the shooting stopped. He grabbed her and held her like he would never let go. "You came," he said. "You came out here." "Of course I came," Lisa replied. "I told you we do this together." Emma emerged from her hiding place a few minutes later. She ran to Lisa and wrapped her arms around both of them. The three of them stood in the middle of the colony, surrounded by the smoke and debris of battle, and for a moment everything was silent. The colony's leadership gathered that evening to assess the damage. 17 people had been killed. Dozens more were injured. Multiple buildings were damaged. The cost of the attack was significant, but the cost would have been much worse if they had successfully taken. Robert looked exhausted but determined. "They are pulling back. They did not get what they came for. That is not a victory for them. That is a loss, and I think they know it." Wade leaned forward. "What do we do now? Will they attack again?" Spoke, "Not if we show them that taking me is not worth the cost. They understand strength. They understand sacrifice. But what they do not understand is what humans have. They do not understand that we would rather die together than survive apart." Lisa put her hand on his shoulder. "They think we are weak because we show love. They do not understand that love is our strength." Emma looked up at both of them. "Are we safe now?" And Lisa exchanged a glance. They could not promise safety. No one could ever promise that, but they could promise something more important. "We are together," said. "That is all that matters." The colony began the work of repair. They remained at a distance, their ships maintaining position in orbit but not attacking. Something had changed in this conflict. They had expected to walk in and take what they wanted. Instead, they had encountered something they did not expect. They had encountered a human willing to die, a woman willing to fight, a family willing to stand together against the darkness. That night, Lisa and Emma sat together in the observation room. The stars were still visible above them, endless and eternal. 442b rotated beneath them, by battle but still standing. "What happens now?" Emma asked. "Now," Lisa said, "we wait for them to decide what to do next." Held both of them close. Whatever came next, he would face it the same way he had faced everything else. He would do it for his family. He would do it because they mattered more than anything else in the universe. 3 days after the attack, they requested another diplomatic meeting. This time, their approach was different. There was no aggression in the communication, or simply stated that the council wished to discuss a path forward. Was nervous. He knew what diplomacy meant sometimes. It meant compromise. It meant sacrifice. He had already given everything he could give, but Lisa was calm. She had confidence that whatever came next, they could face it together. The diplomatic chamber was arranged differently this time. Instead of opposing sides, the chairs were arranged in a circle. The delegation had been reduced to 5 members. or sat at the center, his old eyes studying the humans. The attack was a failure, or said without preamble. The humans defending were effective. The humans who came to help exceeded our expectations. We lost warriors. That is a loss they do not take lightly. Robert waited for him to continue. But more than this, or went on, we have been analyzing the human response, the female who came to fight, the child who refused to leave her protector, the human who took blows that should have killed him. This is not weakness. This is strength, different from our strength, but strength nonetheless. Tals, the military advisor, spoke next. We made an error in judgment. We believed that humans were like other species we have encountered, primarily motivated by survival and self-interest. But humans are motivated by something else, by bonds that we do not fully understand. Lisa squeezed hand gently. Or continued. The council has made a decision. We will not pursue the claim on, but we still wish to understand human biology and psychology, so we make a new proposal, not a trade, not a taking. A partnership becomes a cultural ambassador. He teaches us about humans. We learn. Understanding replaces curiosity. War becomes peace. Felt like someone was pulling a weight from his chest. The pressure that had been building since the first contact was starting to ease. But there is one condition, or said. We need assurance. Humans speak of trust, but trust is earned through time. If becomes our ambassador, he will be traveling to stations. He will be spending extended periods away from the colony. This puts his safety at risk. We ask that his family agrees to this, that they understand the danger. Lisa's grip on his hand tightened. She was afraid. He could feel it. She was afraid of losing him again. But she was also strong. She had faced loss before and survived. I have a question, Lisa said. What if says yes, but there are conditions of his own? Or made a sound that might have been interest. Speak. First, any work he does is voluntary. He can refuse assignments. He can return home whenever he chooses. Second, his family can visit him at any time. Emma needs her father. I need my husband. That is not negotiable. Third, full protection under galactic law. If anything happens to him while under your care, the entire colony has the right to respond with force. Fourth, this role is temporary. It lasts 1 year. Then is free. The delegation went quiet, or Tal's exchanged glances, then or spoke. These conditions are acceptable, but we have conditions as well. During his year as ambassador, agrees to teach us about human culture, values, and biology. We agree not to conduct experimentation without his consent, and we agree that if the humans prove to be reliable partners, we will extend the cultural exchange program to include other humans. Perhaps your young people could learn ways as well. Stood up, the room fell silent. All eyes turned to him. I have one thing I need to say, he told Or. When I was younger, my sister was killed by an alien attack. For 14 years, I have dedicated my life to making sure that would not happen to anyone else. I have been a warrior. I have been a protector. I have done what I thought was necessary. He paused and looked at Lisa. She was watching him with tears in her eyes. But I learned something recently, continued. I learned that being a warrior is not enough. Being a protector is not enough. Sometimes you have to be willing to build bridges instead of walls. You have to be willing to understand instead of just defend. They killed my sister, but you did not do it personally. You are individuals just like humans. I think it is time to stop seeing you as enemies and start seeing you as beings we can learn from. He turned back to Or. I accept your offer. I will be your cultural ambassador, but I do it on one condition of my own. I do it so that what happened to my sister does not happen to anyone else. I do it because maybe, if we understand each other, we can build something better than war. Or stood as well. He extended one of his upper hands. It was the gesture of respect and agreement, walked forward and clasped it. The two of them stood there, human and united in a moment that felt bigger than both of them. The treaty was signed that evening. Word spread through the colony quickly. They were going to have peace with the It was not a guaranteed peace. There would still be tensions, still be incidents, but it was a beginning. That night lay in bed with Lisa. Emma slept between them, her small form curled under the blankets. Lisa was quiet, her eyes open, thinking about the future. "Are you afraid?" asked. "Yes," Lisa admitted. "I am afraid of losing you. I have already lost my husband. I cannot bear to lose you too." Rolled over carefully so he would not disturb Emma, he took Lisa's face in his hands. "You will not lose me," he said. "I will come back. Every time I will come back, because I have something now that I did not have before. I have a reason to come back. I have a family that needs me. I have you and Emma. That is stronger than any danger. That is stronger than anything the universe can throw at me." Lisa kissed him. It was gentle and full of hope and fear mixed together. They held each other while Emma slept peacefully between them. In the weeks that followed, the colony began to change. The diplomatic presence became less intimidating and more open. Young humans began to meet and talk. Trade resumed, but on better terms. Understanding began to grow where fear had been. Started his work as cultural ambassador. He spent 2 weeks at a station, teaching them about human art, music, and values. It was strange and sometimes uncomfortable, but he found that they were genuinely curious. They were not evil. They were just different. They had their own culture and their own way of thinking. But he always came back. Every assignment lasted only a few weeks. Then he returned to 442B to Lisa and Emma. They had purchased a new home on the outskirts of the colony. It was small but had space for a family. Lisa continued her research. Emma started school and made friends, both human and young, who had begun to live in the colony. A year passed. The cultural exchange program was extended. More humans joined in working as ambassadors. More came to live on 442B. The world was changing. On the 1-year anniversary of the treaty, there was a celebration. The entire colony gathered in the central plaza. The delegation was there as guests, or himself attended, a sign of great respect. Stood with Lisa and Emma, watching the celebration. Emma wore a new dress that Lisa had made for her. She was laughing and playing with both human and children. The sight of them playing together felt like a miracle. Lisa reached over and took his hand. "I have something to tell you," she said. "I want to know if you are ready to expand our family." Looked at her confused. Lisa smiled. "I am pregnant. We are going to have another child, a sibling for Emma." Felt emotion flood through him. He pulled Lisa close and held her. He was going to be a father again. He was going to have a child that he raised from the beginning. A child that would know peace instead of war. A child that would grow up understanding that they were not monsters but beings to learn from and cooperate with. "Yes," he said simply. "Yes to everything. Yes to this family. Yes to this future." As the sun set over 442B, stood with his family and looked out at the colony. The humans were mixing together, sharing food, sharing stories, sharing a future. It had all started with a choice, with him choosing to stand between a child and a monster, with Lisa choosing to claim him as family, with both of them choosing to build peace instead of accept war. He thought about his sister. He thought about the young man he had been, full of anger and the need to protect. That had not understood that the best way to honor his sister's memory was not to fight forever, but to create a world where her kind of tragedy became less and less possible. Emma tugged on his sleeve. "Dad, can we go see the fireworks now? They said they have a special show for the celebration." "Yes," said. "Let us go see the fireworks together, all of us." They walked through the colony, a human man with a scar on his face, a woman who had claimed him as her own, and a child who had changed everything. Behind them, the stars began to appear in the darkening sky, the same stars that had shown them the way across the galaxy, the same stars that would light the path to whatever came next. Had spent his whole life learning how to survive, but it took a moment of sacrifice, a woman's courage, and a child's innocence to teach him how to truly live. He had taken the blows for her daughter, but in the end, Lisa's demand that he become hers had saved them both. It had saved them from a life of endless conflict and given them something far more precious. It had given them hope.